hello, hello. Welcome to the Good Art Friends, where good friends discuss good art. Jonathan, my friend, how you
I'm
doing
doing
tonight?
well. So as we're recording, I've been spending my time watching the 12 Hours of Bathurst, which is going on right now. It's been a very good race, and there's about 6 hours left.
I don't know how to respond to that. I think this is, we have a lot in common, but one of the big differences is, me having kids and you not. And this feels like a very, very stark difference. I'm trying to think like, hey, family, I'm going to watch 18 hours of racing or whatever it was. And yeah, that would not go over well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it on throughout the day, and I just go and do other things around the house. Like, for example, once we're done recording, I'm going to go to PetSmart, and I'm going to get myself a cat tower for my cat Theo after I overcome my decision paralysis about which one to get. And then I'm going to assemble it while I continue to watch this race.
It does seem like it'd be good background kind of audio,
Yeah.
Some people, The Office, some people Parks and Rec, you have just 18-hour races.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about our topic for this month. But before we do that, we got a little Miyazaki minute.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall which movie you assigned me last month?
Yes, the one about the small fish, Ponyo.
Yes, Ponyo. And so, yes, I watched it, and my 7-year-old watched all of it. My 4-year-old watched about 20 minutes of it. But as for myself and my 7-year-old, both loved it. It was wonderful. So we'll just do a quick spoiler-free. How well do you remember the movie? When have you last seen it?
I don't remember much of it. I honestly, I've seen the movie. It's 2024, so it's been over 15 years, I think, since I've seen the movie.
It's good, and it probably, I would imagine, it might hit you differently were you to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's, so essentially, like, there's this little kid, who comes across a goldfish, and befriends the goldfish, but there's something, Miyazaki magical and wonderful. Like, there's a quote in the movie that I feel like applies to all the Studio Ghibli I've seen so far. Life is mysterious and amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and then something starts happening to that goldfish, and shenanigans and heartfelt kind of stuff. And there's a quote where there's a magician who's speaking to the goldfish, and he says, "Stop changing now, revert," and just fighting against that is this kind of common, beautiful theme throughout the movie. That and the love of ham. Those two thematic elements I thought were wonderful.
I love a good Miyazaki food scene. We've discussed this.
Yeah, everything. Eating and crying is just to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the just brief Miyazaki minute. We'll watch a different Miyazaki each month, and that should take me through the whole repertoire. Now I did say that you can assign me a different one for each one, but I have a request if you will allow it. I'm throwing myself at the mercy of my good art friend.
Request granted.
Well, My Neighbor Totoro I thought might be nice because Eva really liked this one, and that feels like the next most obvious, correct me if I'm wrong, one for like a kid. And then I think if she likes that as well, then I'll have her hooked, and then we can go wherever from there.
My Neighbor Totoro is the definition of a slice of life movie. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term slice of life, it's like this is like an anime genre where it's really just about like the day-to-day lives of people. It's just like, they're high school kids and they have an after school club and they just hang out together, and that's just basically what it's about. And My Neighbor Totoro is so gentle. It's a warm afternoon in the sun.
That's well put. I like that kind of I've been getting into we're gonna have to do a video game one of these months. We haven't figured out what, but I've been getting into the cozy game genre a bit more. Probably actually started with you introducing me to Stardew Valley. But that's similar kind of just like relaxing, just stepping into that life, doing a little farming, that kind of stuff, we've both been playing Dave the Diver, just do some fishing,
Yep.
run a sushi restaurant.
As far as cozy gaming goes, another suggestion for you would be unpacking.
Unpacking. I think I've heard of that, but I'm blanking on the details. But okay. On the Switch?
It's literally a game about unpacking, which for me, whose organizational skills are less than stellar, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes to play, but the music is so chill and it's a very relaxing game.
I love that a thing that you wouldn't want to do in real life, you will avoid doing by doing that in a virtual world. That is wonderful.
It's not, I was going to say it's anti-Tetris, but it's like diagonal Tetris. Like it's organizing, but the things don't go away. They just keep going out.
Okay. Yeah, and that, I feel like those kind of games are good to avoid when all the feelings are too much. It's nice to go into you're gonna have to grade the segue afterwards. Okay. It's nice to go into one of those cozy games to avoid the feelings.
Yes.
But our topic for today is the inverse of that. When you want all the feelings, when you want to be curled up in the fetal position in the corner of your room, then you turn on some Sufjan Stevens. Okay, how'd I do? How was that?
That's great. Fantastic. I could feel where it was going and I was already ready.
So yeah, as a reminder, the structure of the show, each episode's always going to be kind of split into the first parts, banter, those kind of things, but we'll talk about the topic at hand in a kind of non-spoiler version. I don't know what spoilers means for music, but this essentially means that this album that we're going to discuss this month, Sufjan Stevens' latest album, Javelin, you have not listened to yet. I have. So we're going to have a general conversation on Sufjan Stevens. We'll talk about, what you might be hoping for out of this album, if it will involve, bawling. And then we'll pause. You'll listen to the album, and then we'll come back, seconds later for the listeners, but I don't know, a week or so later for us. And then that's when we'll get into the depth. So let's start. I don't know. What's just your relationship with Sufjan Stevens?
Well, for me, I was just getting ready to refer to him as my Prairie State brethren, and then I looked that he's actually from Detroit. And I'm
Michigan came before the Illinois album.
Yeah.
But Midwesterners unite.
Yeah, fair enough. Number one, for the longest, I thought his name was Sufjan. So let's start there.
Fair.
But it's just like, I know that he makes music that is very popular, and I've listened to like a little bit of it. Spotify puts together this like punk/emo Christmas playlist.
Yeah.
And more often than not, the song that we talked about in our last episode, Did I Make You Cry on Christmas Eve? Well, you deserved it. Yes. So I know that song. I know Chicago, Casimir Pulaski Day, which is
wonderful.
Which is an actual holiday in the state of Illinois.
Yep.
In the first week of March. That's basically it that I know about him. I know that everybody loves him, and I'm really looking forward to really diving into more of his music. I've purposefully not stepped into his music so I can have like a fresh perspective when we do this episode.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting. I'm trying to think. So I was reflecting on this. So I first came across him. I remember it was 2005, and I was studying abroad in Germany. And then just a few months earlier, I'd never heard of him before, but somehow, I don't recall how, but somehow I came across the album that just was released, Illinois. Come on, feel the Illinois, and every song is like, the title is like the predatory wasps of the Palisades are out to get us, and all these wonderful titles. Anyways, and it is just incredible, just musically and lyrically, and that one is much more kind of lush and or like orchestral than maybe like Carrie and Lowell or Seven Swans, some of those ones there. And also just I think it kind of hit me just being a outside of America for the first time in the middle of like the Iraq War and living in a
Mhm.
different country and getting other people's perspectives. And on one hand, feeling like noticing some parts of the country that I didn't love, but on the other hand, just being really homesick for the country too. And then having Sufjan Stevens put out this record about like American culture and folklore and all these things that seem to grapple with a lot of the same ideas. Like there's a song on the album about zombies that is wonderful, but it's also about like our past coming alive in a way that is really quite striking. So yeah, that's where my and then from there I've been hooked for the well, I guess it's been almost 20 years since then, and it'll be interesting. I'm curious. This month's topic is kind of the opposite of the first, where you were much more aware of Miyazaki and you kind of introduced him to me. Um, and there was a bunch of different types of Miyazaki movies, but all just wonderfully weird. I think
Mhm.
that's kind of similar with Sufjan, just flipped around, where I'm way into it because he has a lot of different types of albums. You have like the songs you mentioned, a lot of them are coming from like that Illinois era. But then he has some that are more stripped down folk, like in Carrie and Lowell. He has the like religious ones, like in Seven Swans. He has, well, I guess you mentioned that just he's put out like probably pushing 100 different Christmas songs, which is remarkable. I mean, he also has then he'll dabble in like electronica, and one of the things I think will be interesting for you to look out for is I feel like there are elements of each of those that pop up and the DNA can be kind of seen in Javelin. So just keep an ear open for that as you're listening.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive in. I love to listen to a lot of emo and punk stuff. It's so weird for me because like I have been in conversation with somebody who is a parrot head. And talking
Right,
to
right.
them, I'm like, I can't remember the last time that I listened to happy music on purpose, right? It's
I'm the
just,
same. It drives my wife crazy. She does not know what to do with that.
yeah, it's just like I enjoy listening to like cynical music and like a lot of emotional stuff because it's fun to listen to when you're in a good mood, and then when you're in a bad mood, you have like the outlets to go to and to
Yeah.
pull things out of.
Susan Cain, she wrote A Quiet is the book she's best known for, but then her second book is called Bittersweet. Yeah, yeah. And she talks a little bit about that. It's a wonderful book. I recommend it. Just why we might gravitate towards. For her, it was like Leonard Cohen music and things like that. And
Mhm,
I think it does give you this almost safe way to kind of feel and emote and to connect with others. Because I mean that's what life is. I think that
mhm,
one of the many sad scenes in Inside Out, which we should maybe cover the second Inside Out. You
yeah.
know that's how you connect with others through feeling. But yeah, I love sad music too.
Yeah,
We'll think of
it's so great. And honestly, like I think I've pitched to you like a specific album that I think
yep,
that we
yep,
should do in the
yep,
future. But I'm just really just looking here at the track listing for Come On and Feel the Illinois.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I just
read off the zombie one. Come on,
um
I don't that one I don't.
oh yes, let me see if I can actually yes. They are night zombies, two exclamation points. They are neighbors, two exclamation points. They have come back from the dead, two exclamation points. Ah, one exclamation point.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's
But
wonderful.
I'm just also looking at, the Man of Metropolis steals our hearts, which by the way, there is a
Mm.
statue of Superman in Metropolis, Illinois.
Oh, and are you familiar with the Superman's role in that album?
Oh no, I am not. Now
Okay,
I'm
okay.
even more
So
excited.
the first, I just cut you off, but this is, my autistic info dump. I just need to.
Yes.
So the original pressing of that album, if you Google it, you can find it. There was like a illustration of Superman there. But then, so there's a few out there that go for Lord knows how much money. But then they feared, the DC lawsuits. So
Mm-hmm.
then there's another wave of them that have Superman, but it's covered up with the balloon stickers, like actually placed physically on everyone. And then the second run had the actual balloons just on it. And there was then Marvel, as a way to stick it to DC, put out a limited edition with was it Blue Marvel? I think the superhero. Just for like, oh, you can use our superhero. So yeah, I really want to find one of those kind of special edition Illinois.
Yeah.
But yeah, tangent over.
Yeah,
Proceed.
it's fun for me, like as an Illinoisan looking at these, like for example, like the last track, Out of Egypt into the Great Laugh of
Mhm.
Mankind, and I shake the dirt from my sandals as I run, because the lower part of Illinois, between Missouri and Kentucky, is known as Little Egypt.
Yep.
Um, and then like there was another one I saw about like the Rock River Valley, to the workers of the Rock River Valley
Mhm.
region. Yeah, it's just like it speaks to me in a profound way.
Yeah. I will say, okay, so the focus is going to be Javelin, but just if you can do me a personal favor and listen to the Predatory Wasps of the Palisades is out to get us. It is that's probably my favorite Sufjan song. And just it's the perfect blend of the music matching the lyrics, where it is essentially a frame story where it's him or the narrator, whatever it is, as an adult. And then he thinks back on a scene when he was at a summer camp and met like another guy there. And just the transition as he goes back in time musically is just so perfectly done. And then at the end, when he's in the back seat looking back at the memory, just the lyrics are profound and the music just perfectly matches it. It's a masterpiece.
So I have a fun question for
Okay.
you. Because like I think about this when I listen to one of my favorite songs by Dinosaur Pileup, which is
Mhm.
Peninsula, which is like the first track that I discovered by them. And when it comes on, I always tell people it feels like a warm hug when this song
Mm.
comes on. So for you, when like a strong evoking Sufan song comes on for you, what do you feel?
Oh, so that's it varies. So like the predatory wasp, for instance,
Mhm.
that and say Casimir Pulaski Day, I think perfectly encapsulate that. Nostalgia is not the right word. That feeling of being an adult and looking back on something that happened as a kid that you didn't quite grasp and had this marked influence on you, but that you only realize in hindsight. But I also love just someone who like faith is important, but I struggle with doubt. So then getting into some of those like from Seven Swans or actually Casimir Pulaski Day, it's this as well. Just that ending, and he takes and he takes and he takes and he takes, just hits me like that spiritually. It's bittersweet, I guess. Going back to Susan Cain's, if this beauty in feeling deep feelings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
No, that makes complete sense. And it's interesting for me because I am 32 years old on my way to being 33. And I'm in the point of my life where like you're not in your 20s anymore, so it's like you're not as much in the lesson learning phase as you
Mm.
are. You're in the part of life where you have had enough time to read the manual. Um and everything sort of starts to become meta, right? Like
Yeah.
there was a moment for me, and I was working on this really big project for work last month, and I'm editing this footage, and I'm looking through all of this footage, putting it together, and I'm just thinking, wow, this is going to be a lot of work for the person who has to edit all of this footage. And then I'm like, oh wait, that person's me. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like you realize that you are you are now the adult that you never thought that you were going to be.
Mm.
and you are that person now every day.
Yeah, and there was always the hope, at least for me, I think when I was a kid, or this assumption that like adults had it figured out, and then you reach, I'm hitting 40 this year, and if there
Mhm.
comes a point where I'll it figured out, it doesn't seem to be on the horizon, and just
Mhm.
all of us have that imposter syndrome all the time, and you just learn to accept it, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, lots of feelings. I think Javelin's going to give so it's kind of connected to a relationship, and so it's thematically a little bit more, well, similar to Carrie and Lowell, which was about his mother, but this is about just a romantic relationship, so it's a little bit more thematically tight than perhaps some other albums. But I eagerly await your thoughts and impressions and favorite, lyrics and songs and melodies, all that. Okay,
Yeah,
you
I'm
ready?
excited. I'm excited to listen to something that doesn't come from Australia, which is where most of my music comes from, apparently.
Interesting. I like the idea of you just leaning into it, just Australian, just all music, just put Bluey on loop, just only
Mhm.
Australian culture.
Yeah,
They're a worse
pretty
place to
much.
live.
Yeah,
Okay. So for listeners, it's just gonna be a second. Pause if you haven't already listened to the album, then unpause, and we'll talk about it together. You ready?
I am.
Okay, talk to you soon. And we're back. Been a minute.
It's been a minute, but
Not for them. For them, it's been literally 8 seconds. But it's been a minute for us.
sometimes life happens. And listening to this album was a reminder about sometimes life happens.
Yeah, that's fair. I figure it's like we're like NBA players, load management.
Yes.
We put in an episode. We need a few months off. And that's
Yes,
fair. That's right.
I'm Tim Duncan, DNP old.
Now, though, before, because I was re-listening to the first part, before we get into the album, I think it's essential that we get an update on the cat tower that you mentioned back in
Yes.
February. How's the cat tower worked out?
It's worked out perfectly. Theo had initially he went in and nested in the little bottom area. After that, he hasn't really used it much, but he does go up to the top of the tower. And he likes to survey all that is his. It's so funny watching him because like sometimes he'll perch over and have his arms out in front, and he just looks like a sailor because like just got the arms, and the arms are just out his elbows, or like Craig Kimbrell getting ready to pitch. Yeah. It's very funny, but he loves it. It's great.
Okay. Do you have a segue from that to Javelin?
No, I wish.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I wish.
What were your general thoughts on the album?
It was very pleasant to listen to. I borrowed your vinyl. I enjoyed going through the literature inside of it. The nice little slip cover for it that has the lyrics on it. I didn't get a chance to actually finish reading the entire.
There's a lot. It's
story.
like a 40-page booklet that comes with the vinyl, which is
but it's beautiful. If you have a chance to get the vinyl for this, the booklet is a massive collage of artwork done by Sufjan Stevens, and it's very much of his personality. And the artwork for it, all of everything that is written in like glue gun, or like glue gel pen,
puffy paint, is that what it's called? What is that? Yeah, it really took me back to the 90s.
And it's precious.
Yes, that's a good word for it.
And listening to this album, the first few tracks, we get through Goodbye Evergreen, which is just a wonderful start to the album.
Yeah.
A running start, which I think is my favorite track. And listening to it is very bright and warm, and listening to it was reminding me of how My Neighbor Totoro made me feel.
Ooh. We're gonna talk about that next month.
Yeah. It's just so warm. And then so I was listening on the vinyl, and you get through My Little Red Fox, and you flip it over to side B. And side B just takes a huge turn.
Yeah. Yeah, going from like, what, does it start with Javelin and
No,
shit talk? No, I guess
it
that's
starts
later on.
with So You Are Tired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I have had not comparable, but somewhat similar life experiences in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listening through So You Are Tired, Javelin, and Shit Talk, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, that rug being pulled out from underneath you feel, and just the lyrics in this lineup so beautifully and pain-wrenchingly with the music too, and just how it can transition from this like sweet, precious folk to all of a sudden this like discordant electronica and back and forth and the layered voices. It just seems to encapsulate a feeling.
Yeah. And from face value, if you look at this track list, it's not on the vinyl, but if you look on Spotify or anywhere digital, Javelin has a subtitle in parentheses, to have and to hold.
Yeah.
Which sounds great. And then you listen to the song, especially for it to come after So You Are Tired, right? And it really it gives it really does invert the meaning of everything, because So You Are Tired is really just like a friction point in a relationship, and then you get Javelin, where the opening line of it is, I'm like, picking up this javelin that if I would have thrown it at you would have pierced you, and this is where your blood would be.
Yeah.
And it's
but it only doesn't because the partner flees, left before you could even launch this pain, this anger at them, which is, that was my favorite lyrics, is that imagery in that song.
Yeah. And just the thought of the javelin connecting, or the partner, as it says, jumping over the rocks, a terrible thought to have and to hold.
Right.
Which, are words that are said on what should be one of the best days of your life.
Yeah.
And it's just like to have that but put in this moment. Sufjan Stevens is very good at his job.
And then that leads into Shit Talk.
Yes.
In which it is just this fighting and fighting and fighting.
Yeah.
But then eventually just, I don't want to fight anymore. And that kind of refrain over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite lyric?
Yes. Just going back to like, So You Are Tired. And it's just it's so funny to me. Because like you don't know what you're going into when you're just listening to an album fresh. And you get So You Are Tired of Us.
Yeah.
Go and rest your weary head. It's just basically like, so you're tired? Okay, go lie down. Like like we're doing this together, right? And then it's becoming, wait, you don't want to do this together. And it's just like, it's that first moment of, okay, like, that's fine. We'll fix this later on. But then it's just like, wait, we're not gonna.
Yeah, that deterioration, you just feel it throughout the album in a way that, gets you. Yeah, yeah. What about musical? Do you have like a favorite, like, melodious part or musical moment?
Yes, genuflecting Ghost.
Oh yeah,
I have a Ghost tattoo.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I like, and I have somewhat of a connection to Ghost. It's hard for me really to explain, and I'm not gonna bother getting into it here. But knowing Sufjan as an artist and his relationship to his faith and to religion in general, which, for example, in the liner notes, everybody he thinks, comma, and Jesus, by the way. But genuflecting Ghost, he really found a way that within folk it does sound liturgical.
Yeah, and there's some of the best Sufjan songs you're trying to figure out, like, wait, is this about partner or is this about Jesus? You know, like Casimir Pulaski Day.
Yes.
Oh no, not Casimir Pulaski Day. That one's a little more. To Be Alone with You, or John My Beloved. There's a lot where he kind of plays with that. I think in Shit Talk you get a little bit that as well.
Yes.
But it's always an interesting, thought to happen to hold. Be like, who's he singing about here?
Yes.
Yeah. My favorite musical moment is really the first track, Goodbye Evergreen. And it starts off with this just like really simple looping piano. And you're like, oh, there's another, Sufjan folk album, coming, Carrie and Lowell wasn't that long ago, this kind of stripped down sound that his career kind of started with. And then I think just over a minute, it's that line, but deliver me from this poison pain. And then all of a sudden the electronic music comes in and you have what was just one track singing and one track piano. You have multiple tracks of lyrics overlaid. You have the music coming, all these different genres. And it just kind of, it works. And it also kind of hits that like this dissonance that he's feeling, you get in the music as well. So for just a minute in, it kind of sets the tone for what this album is. And that, I love that. And
it just in that moment also, just this brilliant explosion of sound.
Yeah, that's the right word for it. Yeah.
it really does bring you in. Other favorite lyrics also, there is a world, there's a world you're living in, no one else has your part.
Oh yeah.
I do love that. Another thing I was just thinking about with this album is as we're talking through it, trying to remember the name of the title. Will Anybody Ever Love Me?
Oh yeah.
Right.
What a title off the bat,
Yeah, what a title. And we're in a time where I feel like we're getting a lot of artists who are writing a lot of like really songs that have a lot of honest feelings in them. Like for example, like I played for you the Beyonce album, Cowboy Carter, Alligator Tears. Something about those tears of yours. How does it feel to be adored? Like that is a really honest lyric. Like even if it's not written with purpose other than just really like to be melodic and rhyming, there's a lot of power that's in there that feels really honest. And will anybody ever love me? Asking like, will anybody ever love me? Like really just, is anybody going to love me? For the reason for loving me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that one does hit. Yeah. And it was funny to me because like it's the antithesis of another song by Foxing, Nearer My God. Which is like it's asking somebody, do you even love me at all? Right. But it's really more, as I remember reading like a review of the song of saying how it feels like, pretty tongue in cheek. Because like, he's saying like, I'd sell my soul to be America's pool boy. Like, I want to be loved. Yeah. Will you love me? And it's just like it's that way of like, that song is really like about forcing it. And this one is really about like, I just really want to know, which I think he also says in the song. Yeah. But it's just, it's a very honest, like a journal entry almost. And that makes me think of a part in probably my favorite song on this, Shit Talk, where you have that repeated line, I will always love you. Yeah. But the first time around, it's I will always love you, but I can't live with you. Second time, it's I will always love you, but I can't look at you. And the song again is like kind of going through a fight. But then at the end, it just keeps repeating and repeating. And with this other voice, these kind of angelic voices, which again raises the question, is it about, partner or God? And it's just, I will always love you, but no qualifier. Just, I will always love you. I will always love you. I will always love you. And that ties to that line earlier, hold me close, hold me tightly, lest I fall. And it just, it's kind of an answer to the question asked earlier. Yeah. 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 Good album. Very good album. I feel like I should have known that it was going to be like somewhat heavy from the start, being that it's a Sufjan album. Yeah. But yeah, it really did kind of get to me. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, it's one of those, if you have experienced it, you relate to it.
Yeah. Yeah. But in a way that captures the complexity of these kind of things. Like I think about stuff that I might have connected with when I was a teenager and I thought I knew how relationships worked, and everything is just this binary love and hate. And you love someone until you hate them, and it's you hold one feeling but not the other.
Yeah.
And this just kind of grapples with that love and frustration and connection and disconnection all together in a big jumbled mess in the lyrics, but also how he layers on a bunch of different seemingly discordant music too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is similar to me. The song Cath by Death Cab for Cutie. I remember I texted somebody, I said, this song hits a lot differently now.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, this is, it's well written, it's poetic, and you can envision the story as it plays out. And then if you experience any part of it, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
This is not as much of a fun song.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts on Javelin?
10/10.
Yeah.
It's really it's a very soft album. It has a lot of honest feelings in it. It's really it's an album to listen to and to sit within.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, completely agree. I co-sign everything you're saying. And it is this interesting, I think we mentioned the first half, there's different types of Sufjan albums. You got like the Christian songs, you got the folk songs, you got the electronica songs, and this kind of, and well, I should say albums. Oftentimes, you got Seven Swans is the Christmas one. Carrie Lowell is much more, folk. Age of Ads is much more the electronic. And this has kind of all them pulled in, which is something that makes it, I think, fascinating as you put it in relation to his other music. So yeah. Okay. What do we have next month then?
We are plunging into baseball season and we are traversing through the media. So we've done a movie, done an album, and now we are going to do a piece of literature. We're going to do The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach. This is a book that I read for the first time about 8 or 9 years ago, which is really weird to consider that it's probably been that long. But it still holds up. It is a coming of age novel. If you're interested in those kind of stories, and it tells the story of a young man attending college and being a part of a baseball program and how he learns to navigate life.
Okay, that's a good summary.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, you've read it. I have not. So yeah, listeners, you got a month. Pick it up, and we'll talk about the art of fielding next time. If you have any thoughts, you can send us a message at thegoodartfriends@gmail.com. We'll catch you next time.